Mike, turn your games down.
Hi, everybody, to another mini episode of Games My Mom Found. I am Mike Albertin, and who's stuck in a Kart Racer with me tonight?
You're going to find the best racer of all time, Adam, from the Down But Not Out Talk Games Chew Bubblegum.
And this is Blair Farrell from comicbookvideogames.com. And you think you had me? You never had me. You never had your card.
I was not expecting a Fast and Furious reference from the first movie. When they actually still raced cars before they flew cars, you know?
Yeah, fair.
So we are here to talk about a game that I've been meaning to play for, over 20 years again? This is a game that I first saw in some random magazine. I don't even remember what magazine it was or anything. I just know that this was an advertisement, or not an advertisement, but like a preview in this magazine. I've been thinking about this game ever since. Megaman Battle and Chase, which came out for PlayStation 1 in Europe. Never came to America till later. Developed by Capcom, published by Capcom. Because I didn't even realize it came out here, I think it's with the Megaman X collection for PS2 and GameCube.
Yeah.
It wasn't until a few years ago I realized it came here.
I didn't know this game existed.
To be fair, I don't think most people do.
I was aware of it, and having played it, I now wholly understand why they didn't bother to localize it for here.
Yeah, it's fine. I mean, I want to say the reason why I was so interested in it is I have a weird thing for Quickman. I really like Quickman. I don't know why. I don't have any explanation, but the fact that I knew you could play as Quickman made me always want to play this game. And that's exactly what I did when I finally got a hold of it, is I played as Quickman, because that's what I wanted to do for over 20 years. And I don't have a reason why. So what character did you play as, Blair?
I just did stock Mega Man because, and that's the thing about this is I played it Monday, and I've almost forgot. I played it Monday, we're recording on a Sunday, and I almost forget. Did they show any stats when you pick the racers? Because sometimes in Mario Kart, it's like, these are the lights who are fast but weak against hits. These are the medium guys, and these are the heavies. I didn't know. And even because the whole conceit of this is they do pull in some of the Mega Man-ness where you beat a racer and you get one of their parts, but it never really says here's how this makes you better. Does that actually affect your performance? Or is it just a cosmetic thing?
So, yeah, there is stat changes to stuff, but you can't tell until you're about to join a race what it's going to do. So when choosing your character, it's just a simple, this is your character.
Because I played this on the X collection, which I'm assuming is what everyone else did.
No, but
yeah, I played it on PlayStation.
Okay, because because I took out the manual, and I was like, is there any type of explanation for this? Because there's little blurbs for all the other games, but it doesn't really tell you how to play this, and I never really researched into it. I just went in blind. I didn't even know how the weapon system worked, how you have to kill enemies to get your weapons.
Yeah, it was the same. I went in blind, and I was trying to avoid the cones and all the little bots and stuff like that, not wondering where the pickup items are. And then I realized there's a counter for every time I ran over one, it went down. But yeah, it, like I said, there was no stats. You just choose, and then you figure it out from there.
Yeah, it doesn't really tell. I mean, I guess when you do select the racer, it does. There's very little explanation of each one. Gutsman is powerful off-roader, but that's really it. They don't give you hey, this is an easier car. This is a harder car. There's very little information given to you. It really felt like just pick the one you like. Is how I took it. Mm-hmm. Even though there is better cars.
Yes, I would try to go with even when you beat an enemy, because you can get different parts, and I would always try to find something where the description would be I think I beat Iceman, and I got tread wheels because it said something about it being good traction. Because one of the things I quickly realized is that there's no drifting, and it's really hard to control your kart. You're essentially just banging into walls left and right. There's no drift. There's no real control. So I was okay, maybe if I get these tires, it will be better. But up until the last race and the quote unquote, I guess, adventure mode, I never once felt like I was in control, which is weird.
I was going to say, and that kind of goes with the tires as well, because Proto Man, his tires, if you turned really sharp, he would start a drift. So there is no like dedicated drift button, but you could do a drift. But then you had Rolls tires who could go off-road and not lose space or speed, but you couldn't drift with them.
So this is a real manual game is what I'm hearing. Like you really have to go in and do your homework before.
It helps.
Yeah, because nothing is really told to you. I even tried to look up guides on this just to see what information there was, and I could barely find any walkthroughs that even said much. Like, it's a very strange game. Like, I was avoiding the Mets and the cones at first, like you were saying too, because I'm like, well, there's stuff in the track, I should avoid it. Not even. It wasn't until way later I even realized, like, okay, that's what the counter is for. I had no idea what the hell this counter was in the top right corner. Just every so often I get an item.
And that's the thing about Mario Kart, even because I was trying to think of the context of this era. So
there would have been a lot of other kart racers. I mean, PS1 has.
Not. And that's what I was trying to think about, because I guess the best PS1 or the most well-known PS1 kart racer is Crash Team Racing, which never came out until 99, I believe.
Oh, okay.
So this was like March 97, at least according to Wikipedia, in Japan. So this was before Mario Kart 64. It was before Diddy Kong Racing. So the only real template they had would have been Mario Kart on the Super Nintendo.
Which is a better game than this.
Yeah, and it's just, you think about the glorious simplicity of that game and how easy it is to understand. And for anyone to pick up and play, and then this is like a kart racer just be this light, breezy type of genre. And I like how they put in like the Mega Man-ness of it, where you beat enemies and get their stuff. Like, it made me think of Mega Man Soccer, which is an odd game. But at least they had like, okay, there's actual 8 robot masters, and hey, I beat Needleman, so now I can make him my goalie if I want to.
Yeah, I remember that. I like the fact that they tried, they included Mega Man stuff, that like as you beat racers, you can take different parts of them, and the more you beat them, you can take up to 5 parts from them. You can beat them 5 times. I thought that was a cool concept. You pick your character, and then you can customize your character to take other people's engines, wheels. One of my complaints with this game is, why is every race 5 laps? Is that normal in racing games? I'm used to always like 3.
It's 3. And I know I'm going to be odd man out on this, and we'll get into it later. But yeah, that's one of my only drawbacks of this game is the 5-lap system. I don't know why. Like, laps are less than a minute, so like a whole race is 5-6 minutes max. It's not that much time. But 5 laps, especially like in the earlier levels when you're always in first place, it just kind of seems like all right, this is time. It's like wasting my time. But as the difficulty ramped up, I kind of liked the 5-lap system just because the races were more intense as they went on.
I mean, to be fair, especially when it comes to some of the later stuff, it would take me up to 5 lap to even get, like, 4th lap to get into first sometimes. Mm-hmm. Like, it would take, I just felt that slow. Like, when they would, and I was playing as Quick Man, which you think would be fast, even though he's not. But, like, I would start up the engine and racing, and I was, like, immediately way behind. It would take about 2 or 3 laps before I even start to get in, up front. Was that anyone else's experience too?
Yeah, so I was going to ask, is there a way to boost off the starting line? Because I'm used to like Mario Kart 64 and say Diddy Kong Racing, where if you like between the
second and third light,
yeah, you hit A or the accelerator, and then like you'll have like a little burst that will get you going. With this, it's like you're so slow off the starting line, and I probably should have done research on this, but like, that's also the problem. This was sold in a collection here in North America with no explanation.
I feel like there was a way to do it. I always saw the computer just take off, but that could also just be a computer specific thing. But I tried timing every way, and the best I got was no drifting at the beginning. Like, I kind of just took off, but it wasn't a speed boost or anything.
I did try holding it down from the beginning, and he didn't do a spin out, but he did not move. I was like, yeah, don't do that. It was just a very weird system, and for North Americans, this game came out on, we were saying before, the Megaman X collection, but you also had to beat Megaman X 1, 2, and 3 to even unlock this game on the collection, which seems like we really don't want people to play this game that we put on here. Like, it's kind of a weird requirement. Like, I was used to like the Sonic Gems collection or Gems Plus, one of those editions. I beat the first level of Sonic 3 or, get a Chaos Emerald, like stuff like that to unlock the other games, which makes sense. to have to beat 3 Mega Man X games to unlock it just seems weird to me. Like that's what they made you do.
I mean, kind of, but if you're buying the Mega Man X collection, largely the point is to attract new fans, but like the collection, it's not like a modern compilation where they have a bunch of rewinds and save states to make it friendly. This is Mega Man for better or for worse. So you assume that the people buying it are, kind of drinking the Kool-Aid. So like, I know when I got this, like to finish Mega Man X 1, 2, and 3, I did it in like an afternoon.
Okay, that I cannot without. Well, I mean, I can with save states, but not without save states. So.
But that's because I played those games like a million times. Like it's just muscle memory to me now. Like X3 on this collection is the PlayStation 1 version, and I hadn't played that version in a while, so I did that the other day without dying.
Damn, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
I lost a lot in this game. I mean, in this racing game, it would take me like multiple tries to beat some of these racers, and it's also just a weird selection of characters, I felt, too. Like, they try to do a little variety of the different games, but to me, it seemed like a weird list. Like, you start off with, well, you don't start off, you can choose from Mega Man, Roll, Proto Man, Bass, Guts Man, Quick Man, Ice Man, Shadow Man, Napalm Man, and Spring Man. So, it's just, I don't know. I didn't understand, like, why they chose who they chose exactly, but that's irrelevant. But it's just like, okay, it's kind of strange to me.
I mean, at the time, you think of some of like the most recognizable Mega Man characters, and I think there you have it. I think that's why they probably chose them. But
it worked. I mean, Base would have been a big deal at this time. I know Duel's in this game as an unlockable character, but only in Versus mode and Time Trial. Duel was from Mega Man 8, correct? Or 7?
8.
Okay. So yeah, I didn't look up, but I'm assuming this is around the time that Mega Man 8 must have already just came out.
Yeah, it would have been around the 10th anniversary, so it would have been around that time.
This is also a game that like I've never heard anybody ever talk about. Even when I went and Googled and was looking up stuff about this game, there's very few reviews on YouTube. Like, it's just a very like forgotten Mega Man game because it's not really a Mega Man game. But
and again, like I'm trying to think about like racers on the PlayStation at that time, because when you think about that era of games, like now. A game comes out, say like Final Fantasy 16, for example. It's coming out day and date in North America, Europe, and Japan. But in the PlayStation 1 days, like Final Fantasy 8 would come out in like 1998, and it wouldn't get localized till 1999. So you think about this game coming out in 1997 in March, I think is what Wikipedia said. And then Capcom has to make the determination, is it worth bringing out? And then in that year, you have Mario Kart 64, which I don't particularly love, but it sold like crazy. And then later that year, you had Diddy Kong Racing, which is one of the best kart racers ever made. So, and then this, it's just so clumsy. Like it doesn't feel great to drive the cars.
No, it doesn't.
Like I was constantly just like trying to turn and like letting off the gas, trying to use the brake, like anything to not just like bang off the scenery. And then the way the kind of terrain is built, so it's kind of feels like Mario Kart for Super Nintendo, but there's some like verticality, and I found it really hard to determine what was coming up. And that's just also a problem with, say, early 3D games, especially on the PlayStations. People were figuring it out. Like, it was just so hard to determine, like, because you have the kind of this terrain that kind of electrifies you. And if you get on it, you're just slowed down. And it's so hard to, like, get around it in races where there's, like, holes in the ground. Like, I just had to restart so many as I would just fall in this hole. And I was like, there's no way I'm going to catch up. So I'm just going to restart this because it doesn't make any sense to keep going.
Yeah. See, that's something I loved about this game. And because this is where the Mega Man nature comes in. When you're fighting Robot Masters, you need to know the order. Like, all right, what weapon's going to go well with this? And that's kind of what this game was doing. It's like, all right, when I beat Roll, what am I going to take? Now, granted, you don't know what it's going to do, but I was getting extremely lucky when I got her off-road tires. That didn't slow me down. So then when I went into the quarry where there was nothing but like off-road, I wasn't slowed down at all. And I was just zooming. And that was like really cool. Different tires, different wings help you at certain aspects. and it makes the races easier. So when you go in and you're customizing your cart, it's like, all right, I saw this. This is what I need. All right, let me try this. And I felt, to me, that was just awesome and it gave me a lot of replay value because I played a lot of this game in the past 3 days, just wondering, like, all right, what carts are going to do better against this, this, and this?
Yeah, I just wish there was something in the game that would kind of inform that, because this, again, feels like, in a lot of games, like, of this era, had that, where it's, you have the manual and it tells you have to look up these things. But even like in Diddy Kong Racing, like after a certain points, like you have the genie comes up and says, like, if you let go of the gas just before you hit the boost, you're going to get super fast. Or if you do this at this time, like it has little things in the game itself to help you. And in this, it's like, okay, yeah, I beat this boss. Like I didn't even think about going back and re-racing people. Like I just cleared a race and then got a part and then went on to the next person and just went on through the racers and then went to like the wily stages, end quote.
Yeah, but it's just weird that there's no stats. Like, just tell you something like, oh, your speed or, little stuff. Like, there's nothing.
So there is.
Oh, where?
So when you're putting your cart together, at the bottom, it'll say list. And this is the only time that you get any information about the part is when you go to list. And it'll show you what items that you have collected off of who. When you highlight that item and press X, it'll say something like, Proto Man's wing gives max speed to your car, or Quick Man's, it accelerates very fast now, but you lose top speed. And that's the only time in the game where you can see what part does what.
That is really not friendly.
No.
I mean, I know there's a better word for that, but that's just, I can't think of what, that's just stupid. Because I did see the list. I clicked on it and I went, okay, but then it just showed me, it looked like at first just parts that what I had and what I didn't have, so I ignored it and moved on. Like, I actually took everybody's tires because the one walkthrough I found said, yeah, you want to get people's tires, those are the best things to take. I'm like, okay, so I took everyone's tires.
So,
which is probably not ideal.
Yeah, because there was someone had the iData engine, and that engine was amazing. Like, it quick acceleration, great top speed, and you just then Frankenstein your car with different parts, and you end up getting something incredible.
Also, by playing Quick Man, which was not the best decision, almost every other player in this has a projectile. Quick Man does not. He can just has a boost, but he has a boost that if you hit a wall or hit anything, you spin out while you're boosting. So he was not ideal for this game because, you were saying, in the green room, Adam, when you beat some races by shooting them and spinning them out at the last minute, and Quick Man couldn't spin anybody out because the items in this game aren't really there's no green shells or red shells. You have mines, you have a shield. That was really all I ever saw.
You have mines, you have shield, you have essentially what's like a remote bomb, and then you have the what's the best? The thundercloud from Mario.
Oh yeah, that was good. But it was just a weird, none of the items stood out. None of them were easy to understand what was happening. It felt like a lot of it was the point was to shoot things, and I was playing the only racer that couldn't shoot. So it was kind of not, it wasn't a good idea.
And even so for Mega Man, it's kind of like the Buster. So if you don't shoot, it charges, and if you can hit someone with a fully charged shot, they'll spin out, except I think for Wily. But then you're also trying to shoot the metars and the cones. So it's not really that helpful.
I can see with Mega Man, being able to rapid shoot some of the items or the enemies on the field. Because Proto Man, if fully charged, he shot a homing attack. But other than that, the only thing he could do was move his shield from the front to the back. So during the race, you could flip your shield over to the back so no one could hit you. It would just deflect.
Oh, that's cool.
Then you could move the shield back to the front, charge up, and do a big, somewhat homing shot.
I mean, that's cooler than Quick Man. I mean, Quick Man could dash to the sides, I guess, but usually it just ended up me hitting a wall and spinning out, so it wasn't very useful. But
yeah, fair.
I also because I was trying to figure out what to take. Since I didn't know you could look up stats, I ended up taking a bunch of bases stuff. I took bases tires, bases engine, and I used that to beat the game. Because I figured he might be better because he was the last character that I fought before Wily. But I also didn't realize the base is one of the characters you can pick from when the game starts off. So it's probably no better than anybody else. But to me, it felt better because he was like, oh, well, he's like a boss.
Yeah. Yeah, it was definitely some Frankensteining of parts to make your cart feel good.
I kept facing this. And then each time you beat a racer, they get harder. So when you try to steal more parts, they are way harder to beat. And I beat a couple 2 times, but I couldn't beat anybody 3 times. This was a hard game. Or I might have had a bad racer too.
I was gonna say, and I think that's where the game really shined, was the last 2 or 3 races with people when you have more carts on the field, more anarchy. Like, it felt like not a Sunday drive to me anymore. It felt very competitive, and I had so much fun with it then.
But you're also a fan of racing games, right?
Yes, I'm a huge fan of racing games.
Okay. As anyone might have noticed by now, we've done 500 episodes on this podcast, and this is the first racing game that's ever been on this show. So that should kind of tell you my opinion of racing games. So,
yeah,
I'm not a fan.
I like them as simple as possible. Like, I love like kart racers. Like, I've never been like a Gran Turismo, Forza type of sim racer. Even like the game Driver, I remember the start of it. It's like doing all these like very precise tests. I can never even muster the enthusiasm to get out of those.
Well, that was a nightmare anyway.
Yeah.
Even as a driving fan, that was a nightmare.
A game it just made bad.
This is, I remember like when the X Collection came out, I was very excited to try this. I saw this in probably EGM or something, like games that never came to North America. And I was like, oh, finally I got to play this. And then I remember trying it and then immediately saying, oh, yeah, now I know why, but this was never localized because it was already outdated by the time it would have came to North America. But again, like, I probably should have done some research about what racing was on the PlayStation around that time, because I don't know if there was much competition in that space. Like, I know there was like Wipeout, I guess. Maybe Wipeout XL.
Yeah, it was a different beast in its own. You probably had Ridge Racer, Gran Turismo.
True, Ridge Racer, yes. Okay, so there you go.
Yeah, I'm looking up right now, too, to see what some of like the kart racers were at this time, to see what competition it had, but that's not going super well. But it's just a strange game. I mean, it's kind of go back to what I said earlier. When I first saw this in a magazine, I remember I was interested. I was looking for this game for years because I didn't realize it never came to America. And I remember, every so often I'd go to a store and I'd look around and see if I could find it. Oh, nope, didn't see it. Then and it wasn't until way later I realized that it never came to America. I mean, to go along with Blair said, I understand now why it never got localized. But to me, it was kind of weird. If you're going to put a game in Europe, why not just localize it here too? You already translated it. But, a year, I mean, this realizing what year this would have came out in America and the fact that Diddy Kong and Mario Kart 64 are out, that completely makes sense. I'm like, yeah, fuck this. This will not do well. It's too outdated at the time.
Like Ridge Racers and like several Wipeouts and like Crash Team Racing was around the corner too. So it's something where it's like Capcom probably looked at like the cost benefit of, okay, well, we can localize these games, which will probably do well, or we can take this one and we have to market it and stuff like that. Because I have a feeling like if this actually came out here, it would have been a game that would have been like a late PlayStation release. They would have sold for like $20 because, like, look, this is old, but like, oh, it's a Megaman Kart Racing game, and it has lots of, like, again, like the cool ideas that really play up the Mega Man-ness about it, but it's just not. I just didn't find it very fun to play.
No, I didn't either. I mean, I did beat it in a day, which was nice. So that was, and I didn't mind it. I mean, I was actually like ready to play a little bit more, but at the same time, like, no, I'm done. Yeah,
that's how I felt. Like I beat the campaign, especially the last race, because you beat so many of the racers, and then in traditional Mega Man sense, once you beat the robot masters, which in this game is like you beat them in a race and get first place, you do the Wily stages, and the Wily stages, it requires, like, the last boss requires so much precision in a game that offers none. Like, there's a shortcut that every character will take, and it's really hard to hit this one turn because it's essentially like 2 very sharp turns. I actually like 1 to get in there and then 2 to get out or something. Yeah. And if you don't hit that, you automatically lose.
I mean,
and it's so hard to bang into that corner, and I had to restart that damn race so many times.
I did beat Wily, because that's the only time I use a save state in this game. I tried to play this game mostly legit, mainly because I couldn't get the save states to work until I had to, like, do some screwing around with my emulator to make it work. But, like, what finally got me to do it was I would have, like, I was having good laps up to the 4th lap, and then it was on the final lap multiple times I get to the final lap where I'm take the lead in the 4th lap, and then he just beats me somewhere in the 5th lap where I fuck up once. Like, spin out once, and it's over. Because I didn't take the shortcut like you did. I was able to, with Quick Man, I was able to be lucky enough where I could, if I could get into that final part, I could dash and take the lead over him. Because Quick Man had that dash.
I need everybody to replay that level with Proto Man's tires. Because he can drift. And so, like, that was super, that turn, once you hit it, you were able to just drift, like, right in there. And it worked so easy.
Plus, you could spit him out, too, right? Because you said that you shot him to spit him out
so
in a second.
It takes 3 shots. He has a shield. So the first 2 do nothing. And then I'm only guessing it was a 3rd. I've never been able to recreate it. But, yeah, it was... I mean, we hit the boost on the little shortcut. And as we're taking that right turn, right to the finish line, I just got enough power, shot him, and spun him out. I'm talking inches. Like, I thought he had won. He was on the line. And then I passed. And, like, that was my 3rd try against him. Because I was using Rolls tires, and I couldn't do anything. I couldn't make the turns. I had no control. But then I was like, all right. Switched some stuff around, did it, and it felt good.
No, I can see that. I mean, it took me like probably over 10 tries to finally beat Wiley. Because there'd be time where I'm like, yeah, I'm on the 4th lap, and I'm, way far behind. I'm like, we're just starting over. Like, there's no point if I can't. I had to take him around lap 4 if I had any hope with lap 5.
And see, just hearing all of that where it's, well, if you have this character with this equipment versus this, and when I think about like all the times I played the adventure mode in Diddy Kong Racing, and I finished it with like Banjo, who's like a heavy character, and like the mouse Pipsy, who's small, and Diddy Kong, who's like in the medium range, and I was able to do it. Like, it's to hear all these things, it's like it just seems so convoluted. Like it adds depth because there isn't a lot here. Like there's only a few modes and so many tracks, and like I guess it adds depth, but it also just makes it unnecessarily complex for the genre that this is. And I was done. Like I finished it, and I was like, I don't need to play this anymore. Like I got credits, and I know there's like multiple endings in air quotes again, but the endings are just like a block of text being like, Mega Man did this, and start over.
Yeah, it's just the different characters you beat it with each have a block of text, essentially. Yeah. I think
Proto Man's ending killed me. It's essentially, he was like, every restaurant he went into, everybody knew who he was and congratulated him on his victory. And I was like, really? Okay.
It's just
why is he going into restaurants? He's a robot.
Yes. Doesn't need to eat.
It was, like I said, at least I got to hear his theme song play, so that was kind of worth it.
I mean, this is also made during the time when Mega Man was at its height, too. Well, at least, was at a height back then.
A little bit. Because, I mean,
they did love Mega Man games on PS1.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think, because the Mega Man Legends ever came out, that was like the big 3D push, which is what everyone wanted back then. I'm just trying to think of like that era, because I guess Mega Man 7 was on the PlayStation, on the Super Nintendo, and that I think was reviewed okay, but it was a little bit long in the tooth, and I guess, yeah, like X1 through and 3. So I guess popular, but not insanely popular.
Yeah, but you had X4 and 5 and 6 on PS1. You'd Mega Man Legends 1 and 2 on PS1. Like, you had a decent amount of Mega Man stuff happening.
But all that came after this.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Legends was, I guess, late 97 in Japan, I believe, or early 98, because it wasn't 98 until here. But speaking of, like, Legends, as I had in our chat that, like, in comparison to, say, Mario Kart, which would have been the analog. So on the N64, like the characters in that were sprites that kind of manipulated their shape for the illusion of 3D. But it's cool with the characters is they have like a base car, and then you can add the different parts, and it's all polygon. So it looks nice. You can kind of tell that this is the tech that would go on to power Mega Man Legends. Like even some of the menus, as I mentioned, like they're just exactly the same. Like even the font is the same.
Okay, that's kind of funny. I didn't realize that because it's been a while since I played Legends, and I only played it once. The tracks are okay. The tracks were interesting enough for each of the different racers that you face. The Wily one was annoying as hell, but the rest were fine. I didn't have a problem with them. There wasn't a whole lot of variety to them, but they were fine. I'm trying trying to think anything else we should say about this game that we haven't covered yet. There's not a whole lot to this game.
Yeah, I mean, I say simple, but it's a simple kart racing game.
It's a very basic kart racer.
Yeah, and I don't know why, but I really liked the UI where you could always see like this like little cinematic type view going down in the bottom left hand corner.
What was the point of that?
I don't know. Just added a little flair to it. I don't know. I really liked it. I liked seeing like when I detonate mines behind me, like getting like this little like cool cinematic view of just them like flying through the air and stuff, or seeing what they were doing, or just watching me catch a sick jump 2 feet off the ground.
I mean, for me, I didn't really watch it. I also played this on the Steam Deck, so I had a smaller screen, so I didn't pay much attention to the bottom screen.
Well, I think Mario Kart and Super Nintendo had something like that too, if you played single player.
But wasn't it like, God, it's been a while since I played Mario Kart and Super Nintendo. I can't even remember. Oh, that's a good game.
Yeah, it was something like that, I think. Or was it only during replay? I can't remember.
I can vaguely remember what Blair's saying. Like, I remember it being there, but I don't think it was there all the time. It wasn't there all the time. Like, this one is there always in the bottom of the screen with the map. The map was fine just to kind of see where the other racers are. One of the issue with the map is that you're always it always shows you as the red, as a blue number 1. But even if you're like ahead of the racer that you're racing, but if you get beat by one of the random racers, like one of the Sniper Joes or something, it still counts as a loss. You don't get the part. And I'm thinking to myself, well, I beat the guy that I'm racing, so shouldn't that count? But it didn't. Because there were a couple times where me and the other racer are in the back, and all the Sniper Joes and everything are the ones beating us.
I definitely had those races. Yeah, I definitely had those races.
And I was like, well, shouldn't it just count if I beat Springman? Like, shouldn't that be good enough? I had a hard time with Springman for some reason. He was hard to beat. I do not like Springman. I can't even remember what game he's from. Is he from 7 or 8?
He's from 7.
Okay, that's why I don't like him. I don't like 7. It was funny with Napalm Man, Shadow Man. Like, I'm like, okay. I mean, that was kind of cool to have them in a game. I would have rather had Snake Man, because I just like Snake Man a lot.
I think Snake Man would have been a good one. He would have had a nice looking cart too.
Yeah. And Quick Man makes sense.
Skull Man would have been great.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I mean, I wonder why they didn't go as... I wonder who was sitting there thinking, like, what Mega Man, bosses should we use? And someone's like, Spring Man.
So I think Spring Man's tires automatically jump over mines or something like that.
Oh.
If I'm right.
I did see him jump. I know that.
Yeah.
He also would knock me out of the way, too, which is annoying.
And that's something that I found weird in this game. I thought, like, it just seems like a game that would have, like, a tiny jump. Because that's something that Mario Kart and the Super Nintendo had, but this one didn't have it.
I mean, it didn't have a lot in this game. I mean, you can eventually steal other characters' bodies of their carts. Once you beat them 5 times, you can then take, I think it's 5 times. No, 4 times. For the wing, engine, tire, and then you can take their body. You can switch out the bodies with different after that. But I guess that's the way to complete this game in quotations, would be to beat each racer 4 times, which I did not do.
I only did it on a few people. I'll probably end up doing it, though, just because I kind of like this game.
Yeah, it's just a bizarre PS1 game that exists, and I'm happy it does, though.
So doing some on-the-air research, I turned on Mario Kart on the NSO, and you can alternate between a view where you can see behind you and another where you just have a vague outline of the track.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, all right.
I mean, that would have been nice. Like, I would have rather had it where just, I could look behind me and see what's there, not the dumb shit I did have. I found that.
I said in the beginning, I was like, my only drawback was the 5 out of 5 laps. For a Mega Man game, I feel like the music could have just hit a little bit better. I don't think there was like any kind of like song that really jumped out at me during this game.
Yeah, if you would have gotten to my head right now and told me and asked to get a theme from Mega Man Battle and Chase, I wouldn't be able to. I wouldn't be able to save myself.
I played this. I think I played this mostly mute, but at the same time, like, couldn't you just like put in the theme songs from the games themselves for each boss and just put it there? That would have worked.
Yeah, something like that would have been cool. And if you played it on mute, you missed one of the most annoying things, and that was just hearing every other character fire their shots every time they charged up or did their special.
Yeah.
Okay, I did hear some of that. That's why I didn't hear it. With stuff like that, I'm like, I don't need to hear this game. I just want to play it. At the same time, I don't think I even really wanted to play it. I had to play it. And, I mean, I had some fun. So, but yeah, no, there was some annoying ass content in this game. The voices were annoying.
Yeah.
It was also annoying because I was Quick Man. I couldn't shoot, and everybody else can shoot, and I just can boost.
Yeah, I think the boost would be more helpful. That's what I wanted. I wanted like that mushroom, like that.
Well,
zipper to get me ahead, because that was the whole thing. Like, once you got in the front for most of the races, it was pretty easy to stay there, except for the end or the last level.
Yeah.
Like, I had to restart a few races. I think it might have been Iceman or some stage where there was like holes and you had to navigate this very thin bridge because you would fall off on the left or the right. But for the most part, like, that was the goal was to just get in front and then stay there.
I mean, that's the point of racing, if I can just say.
But in Mario Kart, there's also like the rubber band of like, okay, I'm in front, but now I'm also the target from the person in the back with like a blue shell or a red shell.
Yeah.
But in this, it's like once you get there, like fine. Except for the last level, it's pretty much just like, you know, just a Sunday drive almost.
Yeah, you spend 3 or 4 laps trying to get there, and then the Quick Man thing, it was nice that he had a boost. It's just the main problem with it was if he hit anything, he spins out when you're in boost. So you had to be very careful, and you had to have a full bar to use it. If you pressed it before he had a full bar, it would just do nothing and lose your bar. So that was kind of like, because I've noticed, you know, I'm watching a playthrough right now or someone playing as Mega Man, like you can just shoot whenever you want. But Quick Man, if you hit that at any other time with it not being full, it just goes empty and nothing happens. So it's kind of like a risk reward, I guess. But I mean, it was nice to boost. It just took me a little while to get the hang of like how to use it because you did not want to spin out. So you even touch a wall when you're boosting, you spin out. Anything spin out if you're boosting with Quick Man. That's kind of one random thing that this game had. It had advertisements for Resident Evil. When you're racing on the tracks, you'd see billboard signs, and one of them said Resident Evil on it.
Well,
that amused me.
That. Yeah.
I just think it's just like not the great cross promotion. It's like, hey kids, playing this like cartoony platformer. Do you want to play this like M-rated game where like zombies eat people?
Yeah, it was. I was also playing the PAL PS1 version of this. I didn't play the X version. It was like 1 or 2 tracks that I played that did have Resident Evil somewhere on the signs in the background to like advertise, I guess, on the lap type of thing. But yeah, you are right. That is kind of strange. Why would you show a violent game for a kid's game?
That just means Resident Evil and Mega Man exist in the same universe.
Well, Resident Evil 43 is in Mega Man Legends 2. Or 42, I can't remember. It's 43 or 42. And it's on a cartridge, I believe.
Hey, they're predicting the future. We'll go back to cartridges someday. Even though if we even get that far, we'll be digital only. At that point. Or maybe at that point you'll just rent the games. You won't even be allowed to own them in any shape or form.
Don't put that out there. Don't put that out there.
That's where we're headed.
You want to play this game? Here, give me your credit card account and we'll charge you accordingly how we feel. Yeah, and there's also like some of the other drivers that you do face, like Yellow Cyclops, the Yellow Devil, he's in there. There's a random, just other people that drive cars. So, and one thing I want to point out is during the loading screen, when you have the 2 little racers, you can tap A and then the other guy goes faster, like the green guy.
Oh.
I don't know why I realized it by accident, and then every time I just press A whole bunch to watch him go ahead of the Met because I thought it was amusing me.
That's something that Bandai Namco ended up copywriting, was mini games for loading screens.
Yeah.
But I mean, now we don't have loading screens really anymore. But
you just have cave crevices that you have to sidle through.
Yeah. But I loved loading games.
All right. Any last things you want to say about this game before we go on to Shelf Stacker Box?
I got nothing.
Okay. All right. We'll go to Shelf Stacker Box, and I'll go first. I'm going to put this in the stack. I had fun, but I don't need to play this again. I'm glad I finally got to play this game that I saw in a magazine ad and been thinking about for over 20 years. So cross that off my list. But yeah, it's okay. It's a game. It exists. I played it. I beat it. That's good enough. Go into the stack because I did have some fun. What about you, Blair?
Oh, this is going in the box. I think it has some interesting ideas, but like I kind of use the example of Batman and Robin on the PlayStation 1, which I think it punches above its weight. But just because it has good ideas, if they're not implemented well, then it's not fun. And in the pantheon of racers around this time, like Mario Kart's better, Diddy Kong Racing is one of my favorite games of all time, and I love Mega Man, and I really wanted to love this, but like I played this for the show. I played it when I got the X Collection as a curiosity, was like, this isn't very good, and then never played it again until this week where I did it for the show, and I'm just like, I finished the Grand Prix with Mega Man, and I feel no incentive to go back and do it with anyone else.
That is fair. And what about you, Adam?
Oh, this is going on the stack. It is. I had a lot of fun with it, and I get what Blair's saying. Like when you look at the kart racers that were coming out at the time, like there were definitely better ones. But I liked how this kind of stuck to a Mega Man theme, and it was themed right. It was poorly executed, but it was themed right. I had a lot of fun. I'm going to go through. I'm going to complete Grand Prix. I'm going to take all the parts. And yeah, it's, it tried something. It didn't work out well, but we have to give them, like, it tried. And I don't think I've seen another kart racer kind of like that since then. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, no, I can't think of any kart racers where you take people's parts and you beat them. But again, I don't play very many, so.
I want to say there was one for the 360, and I could be completely wrong, but I think it was called Blur, and I think you could get parts, but I think
I remember Blur.
I don't think it was you stealing them parts. I think you just got parts and you could upgrade your car. But
yeah, Blur. I forget that Blur is essentially a kart racer because it looks realistic.
Mm-hmm.
I have it actually to the left of me, a copy of it, but I forget about that game.
Yeah, his name was like Blur and Split Second, and they came out around the same time, and they were just underappreciated, and then led to the closure of the respective studios that made them, I believe. I know.
Bizarre.
Split Second
Definitely went out of business. I forget who did Split Second.
I would kill for a Split Second too.
I never did play that game. I remember I was interested in it because I like racing games that have gimmicks like that make me interested, but I just never. Racing is not my genre of games. Never has been.
I still play Split Second. Like, I have it on my Series X downloaded, and I will pop it in and play. I love that game.
One day I gotta play it. Who knows? All right. And if you enjoyed this episode, there are other Mega Man episodes we have done. We've covered a bunch of Mega Man. You can find everything that we do on Podbean. Just search Mega Man, and you'll see what comes up. And Adam, where can we find you at?
Right now, like I said, the down but not out Talk Games Chew Bubblegum. Long story short, you have 2 of the 3 of us that work in the restaurant industry, and it's a beast. I'll say that.
That is true. And Blair, where can people find you at?
You can find me at comicbookvideogames.com. At the time of this recording, I just published a re-review of Gotham Knights, a game that I did not like when it came out, but I kind of am warming up to. And I also got an advanced look at a great documentary you consider supporting called FPS First Person Shooter by produced, written, and directed by an author named David Craddock, who does a lot of great video game history stuff. And it's this really great 4.5-hour documentary about like the history of first-person games that goes back to like the 70s and 80s, and then into the rise of id and Halo and stuff like that. And depending on when this comes out, because I'm being a little bit coy on it, I also have another pretty major interview coming out towards the end of July, so keep an eye out for that too.
I can't even remember when this is supposed to come out, so we'll just leave it that way. But I can say it comes out in August, but yeah, we'll just leave it that way. But all right. And if you want to support the show, we do have a Patreon. You'll see a link in the show notes. For little dollar, you can vote. We have Patreon polls every month, so definitely go help support the show that way. We have a Discord where you can join. You'll see a link in the show notes also for that. And you want to give a shout out to my awesome intro and outro courtesy of Helena at Hell Has Freak, and follow her on TikTok. And want to give a shout out to my buddy Bill Tucker, who started his own podcast, The Gamer Looks at 40. Definitely go check him out also. And please follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and on YouTube. I think that's everything I need to say, so we will see you guys all next time. Bye, everybody.
See ya.
Bye.